This is Hemant Mehta for the Friendly Atheist podcast. This is a bonus episode that we wanted to put out there because not too long ago, I saw this TED Talk that really I found interesting, and I thought a lot of you would find it interesting too. And so I got in touch with the person who delivered it and asked him to talk about it. And the gist of it is that he is an atheist who wrote questions for a Bible game show. So you'll hear about his story in a little bit. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/friendlyatheistpodcast. Here's the brief introduction about who you're about to listen to. David Ellis Dickerson is a writer from all over who's mostly known for his many appearances on public radio's This American Life, telling stories about growing up a conservative Christian in Tucson, Arizona. He's also been a greeting card writer, a video blogger, a graphic novel editor, a planetarium script doctor, and in 2013, he became an Emmy-nominated game show writer for his work on the Christian game show The American Bible Challenge, which aired on the Game Show Network and can now be seen on Netflix. That's the story he was talking about in this TED Talk that just came out. So I had a chance to talk to him about how our paths inadvertently crossed about a decade ago, how an atheist even gets a job writing for a Bible game show, and what cats' testicles have to do with the Bible. David,
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here. I've been a fan for years, and this is just a delight.
Well, thank you so much. And I have to say, I was aware of you before I had seen your recent TED Talk that made me so excited to talk to you. And that's because for a number of years, I heard your stories on This American Life.
Oh, that's so nice.
The ironic thing is it's like one of the fanboy highlight of my life sort of things that Ira Glass mentioned my name in one episode, and it happened to be the episode that was leading into a story that involved you talking about, it was an episode called Bait and Switch.
Oh, yes.
And you talk a lot about your evangelical fundamentalist kind of upbringing. And in that particular episode, they were talking about, trying to, in one case, be friends with someone for the purpose of converting them, and how Jim Henderson, a pastor who really hated that method of conversion. He's the guy who, quote unquote,
helped you write your book.
He did.
You co-wrote the book.
Yeah, he bought my soul, quote unquote, many, many years ago. Anyway, I really enjoyed, I remember hearing some of your stories, and they were never coming from a place of hate. They were coming from a place of, this is what I grew up with, and now I'm not that, and let me tell you some stories about that.
And I still want, my family to be happy on as close to their terms as is possible without them actually destroying the world. Yes.
So where are you right now in terms of your family dynamics? And where are you at? Where is your family at in terms of religion?
In terms of religion, my entire family is still very conservative. I don't think any of them voted for Trump, but they were very angry with their choices. Because if the Democrats, I think, had offered another Obama type, they could have held their nose and done that. That's the impression I'm getting.
Yeah.
But I think they're single issue voters. Trump is going to give us our Supreme Court justice, and then he'll be out in a term.
And they thought Hillary Clinton was way worse than Obama?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Because, of course, they'd had decades of her being demonized on Fox News.
Right.
And they're not crazy about feminists anyway.
So they're not Trumpists.
I remain the bad uncle, the dangerous person. They're all very, very nice to me. I love them dearly, but there is kind of a limited range of things we can talk about. And so we were pretty good at that. I talked to my brother just yesterday for 2.5 hours, but it was mostly about role-playing games and movies.
So when you get together with them, do you try to bring up politics and religion, or do you just try to avoid it and find a common ground?
It's just going to everyone's just going to get angry, and you can't get anywhere with that. And I think you win people over by being nice. Yeah. It's really, really hard for them to think atheists are evil if you show up and go, "Hi, I'm an atheist. Let me draw for your kids," and entertain them that way. Like they can't, it's hard for them to think of me as soulless and deserving damnation.
That's probably for the best. I don't really talk about it with my family either, and we have good relations because of that.
Yeah, I mean that it's a shame, but that really does seem to be the best you can do sometimes. Is just step around and slowly erode the worst parts of their extremism.
Right. So the reason I really wanted to talk to you is I saw this TED Talk you had just given. I'm sorry, you gave it a while ago, but they just put it up online not long ago. And
January it was.
I'll throw it over to you. For those who haven't seen it yet, what is the story behind what you talked about?
In 2012, I got hired kind of out of the blue to work on a Christian game show for the Game Show Network called the American Bible Challenge with Jeff Foxworthy. And it was every bit as crazy as that sounds. Like
how did they find you?
Oh, that's the crazy thing. Okay, I guess it's worth knowing about me that I'm not good at being employed, and so I've had I majored in English, and I've been a puzzle writer for many years. And when you write crossword puzzles, you meet all the other crossword puzzle people, and some of them are more entrepreneurial than me, and they get on TV show jobs, puzzle quiz shows and stuff. So I've been a member of the National Puzzlers League for 20 years or so, and that means that goes back to when I was a genuine fundamentalist, genuinely trying to convert people. And so some of them remembered me when I was like that. So when one person, a producer, said, "I've got to put together this Christian game show, who do we know that knows the Bible?" Entire rooms full of people in L.A. just shrug. Writers who have done everything can't do this. And then someone said, "Hey, I know a guy." And that was literally my experience was I was homeless at the time. I had run out of money. I was living in my dad's trailer in rural Tucson and despairing of finding any kind of job. And then out of the blue, I got this Facebook, and of course feeling guilty for being on Facebook because I should be out looking for a job. And then I got this Facebook message that said, "Hi, you don't know me, but I'm a producer in Hollywood, and I'm told you know the Bible, that you know puzzles, and that you're funny."
That is an awesome job description and quite the resume right there.
Right, and I said, "Please send me some stuff and let me know." And I put together a quick little package of maybe 20 questions. I didn't know what she wanted, so I made some VeggieTales jokes and threw in some really abstruse. I was a religious studies major, so I knew the abstract stuff too.
Yeah,
and 30 minutes later, she said, "You've got a job. Can you come here on Monday?" You'll be here tomorrow because LA, everyone expects you live in LA.
Right.
And then you can just kind of come by. And I'm like, I'm 6 hours away. It's going to have to be Tuesday. So
you got the job. So it's one of the weird things about that story is that show, as I really thought, oh my God, if they find out that I'm an atheist, if they just Google my name, listen to any of my This American Life stuff, I'm in trouble. Yeah.
But they didn't care, it turns out. And they also, where was I going with this?
So you get this job and you're an atheist now going to LA.
Thank you for reminding me. This is what I was going to say is I used the last of my money to buy the bus ticket. And I happened to, for that entire first season, I was staying on the floor of my friend's trailer, from trailer to trailer, and using his car to drive to work back and forth for 6 weeks. So if I hadn't had a lot of luck, I would have been doomed. But as it was, they were so desperate that I happened to get them in a generous mood. And so 6 weeks later, I had enough money to finally get a car, and that changed my life.
Well, that's wonderful. Okay, so now you're writing for the show. And are the other writers on this show, are they devout or are they also atheists? Because I wanted to ask you, who knows the Bible better? Because I would argue atheists know the Bible better than a lot of Christians.
But of course, knowing the Bible better isn't going to help you sell the Bible, a Bible quiz show to Christians. You have to know the language.
Okay.
Right? You have to know the culture so that you can make jokes about, make references to traveling mercies or to, the laying on of hands or that kinds of things. Like they're just little things. You can tell when someone is faking it. The worst example of this I can think of is Friday Night Lights. There's a brief moment when one of the characters has a religious conversion, and it is so obviously written by someone who has never had a religious conversion and has no idea what Christians think or how they talk.
Yeah.
At any rate, in terms of like actual fundamentalist Christians, and I say fundamentalist, I mean evangelical. There's really no difference to my mind. It was me and the actual pastor we had who did all our public. He was the public face of the show. Like he did all our media. That way, you could look him up, and he was the real deal. The other two writers were experienced game show writers. One of the guys had literally he was a Christmas Easter guy. Got there with his parents. Hadn't been inside a church in years. The other was a Catholic who led Bible studies in her Catholic, church every week, which I didn't know Catholics did. And I had converted to Catholicism before I apostatized completely, and I never saw a Catholic Bible study for children. So that was really impressive. But that her knowledge was, I would say, in that vein, Bible study. Right? She didn't look to the Bible. I didn't get the impression the way a diehard fundamentalist Christian does every day. Waking up, looking for guidance, underlining stuff. Having this well-thumbed, well-worn Bible. So really, in that respect, it turns out it was kind of a virtue. We were in real luck because it was just me and Pastor Troy. I'll say Pastor Troy. He's a public figure. Who were the only people who really knew had been part of evangelical culture and knew how evangelicals think. And so normally, apparently, in other game shows, you set difficulty levels. You go through a semi-scientific, process of sending out difficult puzzles, seeing which ones are harder, and doing that. And we were the only two people who knew. So one of our writers would say, "I don't know, how hard is Elijah?" And we would look at each other and go, "I don't know, 200." It was that simple.
Yeah.
And so we were able to burn through stuff a lot faster than I think a full staff with a slightly more scientific approach would have been able to. And thank God, because we were also in a real hurry. We had 6 weeks till filming, and they hadn't figured out what the format was yet. I don't mean what the game was. I mean they didn't know if they were going to have 2 teams or 3 teams, if they were going to be playing for points or money.
Was there
that kind of thing? It was that crazy. They were making it up with 6 weeks to go, and that is unheard of.
Was there some reason they were trying to rush a Christian game show out? Did they just, Jeff Foxworthy is signed on, and is there a reason they were we got to get this out now because we're, capitalizing on some big thing happening right now?
Yep, it was, I'm pretty sure it was Duck Dynasty.
Oh.
That was, I could be wrong. Of course, I wasn't in the field at the time, but I think 2012 was the heyday of Duck Dynasty, and also, the reason they were in a rush right, at the moment when I got called in was they'd done their first, trial, and it had gone very, very poorly, and they had already rented the space,
so they got to produce something.
They were like, "We got to get this ready in 6 weeks, or we're blowing a lot of money."
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so you're writing now for the show. The questions are being written,
and I have never written for a game show before. I have no idea what this is like. Yes.
So what happened with the questions? What type of questions are we talking about?
We settled early on, and by the way, and I should make clear, this show is available on Netflix. You can see the first 2 seasons. Not season 3, unfortunately, because I really liked season 3. I think season 2 was probably our best season. That's the one where we got nominated for 2 daytime Emmys. So I'd recommend that one if you're curious, because it was a sort of a half quiz show, half reality game show, where teams of usually friends with some kind of theme were getting together to raise money for a particular charity. All the money went to charity. So that was nice. And there was a vetting process because this was Hollywood Christianity, so you didn't want like anti-gay charities or anything like that, right? So it was always helping feed the homeless, helping children, that kind of thing. At any rate, where was I? We were talking about I was writing quiz questions.
Right. The one thing I saw in your TED Talk that was really interesting is that even though it's a Bible game show and you're writing questions, and they got to be of increasing difficulty too, it's not like you had the whole Bible to choose from.
Right. It became very clear early on that there were some things we were just not going to be able to use. And when you're looking at the Old Testament, you know, Leviticus is enormous and useless. Deuteronomy is not much better, and basically all of the prophets, outside of a few snippets of Isaiah, no one knows what any of those guys are talking about, because it turns out, and this is from my talk as well, that game shows, not all trivia is equal. Game shows thrive on the viewers at home being able to play along on the couch. And so you need to tell them things that they're familiar with and that they can maybe guess at, which means they don't like numbers. Numbers don't provide images. There's no story there. You can't do obscure names or obscure places. Fill in the blanks aren't especially nice. And we also found out, like, it's really, really hard to make any of the pastoral letters, or the letters of Paul, any of the epistles, interesting, because you're either fill in the blank or you're lecturing somebody in some really, like, you don't realize how obvious the lessons of the Bible are until you start taking out, like, blank must be patient, blank must be kind, like, of course, love. What else is it going to be?
Yeah.
And so really we also, because we started out easy, it went hard. Well, easy, you've got 10 to 12 things that everyone knows is easy, right? Noah's Ark, Daniel and Lion's Den, David and Goliath, Moses, and then even before you hit 6, you're starting to stretch a little. How many? Okay, Jesus and the feeding of the 5,000, Jesus and the fig tree, Jesus and one thing that the producers didn't like was a lot of repetition. So if we had a question about Moses in the first round, they didn't want one in the 5th. And we thought, the Old Testament is basically Moses and David, and the New Testament is basically Jesus. You're going to have repeated names. So it was there was surprisingly less usable Bible than we thought. Because you look at it, you think this is enormous. We'll never run out. Oh my gosh, we ran out really quickly.
I'm surprised because of that you said season 2 was better. I imagine you got all the good material out in season 1, and it would be way harder.
What made season 2 better was season 1 was such a hit that in season 2 we had more money.
Ah.
So we had an actual choir that could do our own songs. By season 3, we were writing original songs. That was really, really fun. We could, I've forgotten. It was just nicer all around. There was less. We were struggling less with like public domain type stuff. But the other nice thing about it, gosh, where was I? There's a lot to say. I could easily lose track.
Can you tell me what sort of questions are you asking about, like Noah's Ark?
Yes, I was going to go all the way back. Okay, we decided early on that doing just dull, straightforward questions would, of course, be dull and straightforward. And we were lucky that we got a guy named Terry. I forgot his last name, but his sweet human being. Oh my goodness, he became our head writer in either the first or second season, possibly both. And he he had sort of won all of his accolades for his work on Win Ben Stein's Money from the 90s.
And that was a fun show if anybody watched it.
Was. And it was basically a collision of pop culture and high culture. And that was what we did. So we said, okay, this is the standard like trope for making the Bible entertaining. And this is true in every like Christian sketch comedy troupe, every Christian comedian. When they really talk about the Bible, they almost always say, what would happen if this was happening today? You know? So, so it is a deathless trope, very easy to plumb for humor. And, you know, so it was an instant obvious thing to do is, okay, faith book, Faith, right? You know, who tweeted this? Who has this on their Facebook page? Who, you know, so all the social media stuff. And then we did, I did one called CSI Holy Land, where, you know, a dead body was described and you had to answer a question about, you know, like who was the murderer, where was this found, what Bible book is the story, like, you know, whatever was most helpful. We also did one. I said because that was a crime drama, of course, and we thought, okay, so how about legal dramas? Because there's so many laws in the Bible. I tried like hell to get some Leviticus in there, you know, just find something to use. And so, you know, I thought to make a legal drama. Have legal questions, but it's still hard. It was the producer on the first year said, "My God, those things just died on stage." But anyway, that was that kind of thing. Pop culture, anything you could do, TV, movies. We did movie posters. I think season 2.
Okay, so you're making these questions, even if the questions themselves, the trivia isn't that complicated. You're just framing them in a more fun way to make it more enjoyable.
Yes, and in the second season, the other thing that was influencing them was in the second season they had the Game Show Network had a huge hit with what was it called? Minute to Win It.
Oh yeah, Guy Fieri, right?
Right, where people would just do really, really silly things, bounce a ping pong ball as fast as, you know, as many times as you can in a minute, or
they were games you could play in your backyard or something, and that's part of the fun.
Balance borders on your elbow, and they wanted us to make sure we had a couple of minute to win it type challenges every season, and that was hilarious and mind bending. We hated this. First, we already had a hit without that stuff, so why are we suddenly making this, you know, a race to carry an egg in a spoon, you know? But also, we were given these crazy directives. This was my first experience of, you know, being told very important things by a committee, saying, okay, we need physical challenges for the contestants, but they can't involve strength or speed or dexterity, because we have elderly contestants and we don't want this old nun getting outraced, you know, and, you know, she knew the answer, but she didn't get it.
I would watch that though.
Oh, yes. Well, and that's the thing is, and that happened in the second season, and we fought that like hell. And then we saw there were some young nuns, a set of young nuns, we had among our contestants in the second season, and we just essentially did, okay, here are the answers. You know, we're going to give you a bunch of questions here. You know, like which of these glasses with a name on it, which of them matches the name that does this Bible story? You know, who killed a lion with the jawbone of an ass? Okay, you try and get you try and bang the fork with a spoon and get it to land in the Samson glass, you know, that kind of thing. We saw one of those, and there was one, you know, we were wincing and cringing, and we hated it. And then these nuns, one of them put the fork and spoon, bang, knocked it in. It was perfect. Everyone cheered. They lit up, and we thought, oh my God, that actually worked. We've got a show. It was so it also made me think sometimes committees know what they're saying. It was really, really fun.
One of the other things you mentioned in your TED Talk is that because this is a legit game show, they had to fact check the questions, which
Yes,
is
and we're
a
going to get to
little.
that when I get to asking some questions for you.
Oh.
Yes. So sometimes you discover things that you thought you knew about the Bible that aren't exactly true. Like, the name of the woman who danced for John the Baptist.
Oh, God.
Right? I had a question about Salome.
Okay.
And it came back from research. That's not her name. In fact, she's never given a name. I was like, what? No, apparently Salome as a name for the woman who danced for John the Baptist was invented in 19th century.
Huh.
And so, we had to go back to the drawing board on that and rephrase the question. In most game shows have it really, really easy. Like Jeopardy must be the best gig in the world because you look up a fact, you confirm it with 2 or 3 good sources, and you're done. There's all of the questions you write go to research, which are a couple of really, really literal-minded people who have to be creative in thinking about how can I possibly screw up this question, misinterpret it, and get a right answer by accident. That's they're trying to break the question, if you ask something as simple as what is the capital of Norway, you're good, right? There's no way to break that question, and you can figure out what it is. There's a number of online sources that allow you to do this. We had the problem of not having an official Bible. They didn't want to limit themselves to just the NIV or just the King James because they were terrified some deeply devout person was going to get, kicked out because they used the New American Standard instead of the NIV, and we had turned a perfectly happy little game show into a war over which version of the Bible you read. So they wanted to use all of them. And if you go to the BibleGateway.com, you will find about 51 Bibles.
Right.
This translation. And these poor researchers, because they're trying perversely to break every question, had to look up every single citation for every single question. They were working late into the night. They were sleeping overnight. They had never worked this hard in their lives. It was really mean. And they found some astonishing things. For example, I had God leading the Israelites as a pillar of fire by day and a pillar of smoke by night. And they said, actually, we need an alternate answer for that because apparently the New English Bible, the CEV, the Common English Version, has columns of lightning. And I was like, what? That's crazy. I mean, thank God I didn't do like a joke about 2-column accounting or something like that, where the phrasing would have mattered.
Right.
But it was stuff like that where you just had no idea what someone was going to say. If you look up, not that we could do this, but the classic story in, I want to say 2 Samuel or 1 Samuel, where the Philistines steal the covenant and then they all get smitten with hemorrhoids or emerods in the King James. You find all the ways they talk around hemorrhoids. You have to say, okay, we will also accept sores and tumors and boils. It's really disturbing. But you want to keep that simple. I didn't realize how hard a game show writer's job, a game show host's job is. We were throwing up a different question every single time, different game. This time, now we're going to do recipes for the Bible. And next up, we're going to do this. And he has to clear this out. He has to carefully say this. He's read it for the first time in his trailer 20 minutes before because we're throwing stuff at him every single day. And he's doing 3 shows a day. And he has to, on top of this, clearly say things like Mephibosheth and know where the camera is and speak to that camera while also talking to the guests and then moving around without getting in anyone's way between them and the camera. Like it was like an amazing dance. And I gotta say, I have so much respect for Jeff Foxworthy. That guy was flawless. You can see why they would hire him, because he showed up and he almost never cost extra time. He never flubbed, hardly ever. It was amazing to see.
So as an atheist who grew up in Christianity, when you're going through this, I mean, you didn't believe this stuff at the time you were writing it,
right.
But did
Not at all.
Did you get more insight into the Bible? Either way, did you just think to yourself like,
It's funny. You were just talking about This American Life.
Yeah.
And in the second season of This American Life, the second season of Bible Challenge, This American Life did a piece called This Week. Things that were going to, like just important things that were going to happen by people in this week. And that was the week that I was moving back for the second season to tell the story about how this, show had changed my life. And so I was being interviewed on the road with Ira Glass, and I was going to be on, the This American Life again. And he said, "So has this experience changed your experience of religion or of the Bible any?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No. If anything, it has makes me hate the Bible more because there are things that are terrible about it that I had completely forgotten." Like, we got notes, from the network saying we need more female characters. I thought, we would love more female characters, but have you read this thing? You said we can't say the word concubine. You don't want to hear what happens to everyone named Tamar. So it's just, we're trying to keep this family friendly. You're not going to get a lot of women. And particularly if you want stories with interesting things happening.
I take it Lot's daughters did not come up in a lot of questions.
Right. We basically worked to death Sisera, the tent peg, just every time. She was a woman who actually did something exciting and killed a person. Delilah, Samson and Delilah. We had Jezebel in there. That was it. Like, there wasn't that much to work with. It was a shame. Miriam danced every other episode, I think.
Okay, so after all of this, did you ever hear from people who said the show helped them grow their faith, or it turned them off of the Bible the same way?
No, I never did. It's weird. We, as writers on a show, we're basically anonymous.
Yeah.
The names whiz by, no one knows who you are. And particularly on a game show, the non-disclosure agreement is really, really powerful. You can't even tell people you're on such and such a show, because if you know somebody, it'll compromise and it's not just, oops, we accidentally let this out. There's federal law, because of the quiz show scandals of the 1950s. This is a federal violation to compromise in any way the security and integrity of a game show.
It's ironic that you have to do that even for the Bible show.
Yeah, well, here's the crazy thing. I told you about the nuns, and I hope you see a little bit of season 2, because the nuns are great. And I don't want to give spoilers, but the nuns made it all the way to the end and then didn't quite make it. And they were young nuns. They were all really, really young, in their very early 20s. And so we loved them. They were really photogenic. They were full of energy. They were hilarious to watch. And so the nice thing about being a writer on a game show is you have nothing to do during the week of shooting. You get to hang out and eat craft services and watch everything get filmed, because you're only there in case something goes horribly wrong and they need a question really, 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 really fast.
Yeah.
And nothing ever goes that wrong. You've already got backup questions. So we were just sitting there, and we were there at the moment, in our little booth when the nuns were gone, and got taken out. And I was like, oh, that's such a shame. So because no one cares who I am, I ran out after them, and as they were going to the parking lot, I said, I'm one of the writers, and I just wanted to tell you guys that we in the writers' room were really big fans of you guys. And the head nun said, "Dave, what are you doing here?"
What?
It turns out she had been a student of mine when I was teaching composition at Florida State.
Oh my God.
And, they show you the contestants, and if you recognize them, you have to say something.
Yeah.
But, of course, she was dressed like a nun and had changed her name. Of course, and was one of like 200 people. But
Oh, my God.
So, thank God they didn't win. That would have been really, really bad, maybe. But that was the craziest coincidence of all, is that they got to catch up with a favorite student of mine.
Who became
totally
a nun.
by accident. So anyway.
That's hilarious. Okay, so you told me you were going to quiz me, and then I freaked out a bit because I'm totally not going to win this game, but I'm very curious to hear some of these questions.
Okay. Now, first, I'm going to start with one that we actually did to give you a sense of the kind of questions we were doing, okay?
Okay.
So this is called, and I wish I could take credit for this title of this, The Four Little Ponies of the Apocalypse.
Okay.
And I am going to give you, this is a 3-question quiz, I'm going to give you a phrase, and you have to tell me if it's a My Little Pony or a description of heaven from Revelation chapter 4.
Okay.
All right, and it's it's stylized, of course, a little. Emerald Rainbow.
My Little Pony.
Sorry,
Damn,
Revelation
what?
4:3.
No.
A rainbow that shone like an emerald encircled the throne.
God.
Okay. Number 2, and we should really have an exciting sound bed for this. I'm sorry, I didn't think that through.
That's all right.
Starlight Shimmer.
My Little Pony.
A unicorn pony. She is Twilight Sparkle's student in the ways of friendship. Yes.
Excellent.
By the way, what I'm reading you there, that is called frill. And in addition to writing the questions, you also have to write the frill, because every so often they need to play for time and they need something to say about the question.
Okay.
All right. And finally, Sapphire Shores.
That sounds biblical.
Sorry. Sapphire Shores is an earth pony celebrity singer referred to as the Pony of Pop.
Oh my God!
Now you're right. Actually, in Revelation 4, there is a sea of glass.
See, that's
no sapphire shores.
Clearly, that's what I was thinking of the whole way.
See, and you fell for my trap. All right. Now, round 2. This is an example of a kind of question we tried to do but couldn't do for whatever technical reason. Okay. This is I'm going to give you the questions first, okay? This is called Getting Your Herod Did. I am going to ask you 3 questions, and the answer is either Herod Agrippa, Herod Agrippa II, Herod the Great, or Herod the Tetrarch.
Jesus.
Okay, so question 1. Which one killed all the children in Matthew chapter 2?
Let's go with the first one of the
Herod
options.
Agrippa. I'm sorry, it was Herod the Great. Herod the Great. Okay, which one spoke to Jesus during his trial in Luke 23?
If I keep answering the first one, I'm bound to get something right.
Okay, Herod Agrippa. I'm sorry. No. You were wrong. That was Herod the Tetrarch. And then which one did not give glory to the Lord and so was struck by an angel and eaten by worms, apparently very quickly, in Acts 14?
Let's go with the last Herod.
Herod the Tetrarch. Oh, sorry, it was Herod Agrippa.
Son of a...
or so we think. Here's the thing. The reason we couldn't do that, and I loved doing this one. I've got another one for like all the Marys in the Bible.
Okay.
Like, you just go, how do you tell them apart?
Yeah.
But the problem research said is actually we're guessing at all of them.
Yeah.
The Bible doesn't care which one it is. Like in Acts, the very final Herod in Acts is in fact directly called Agrippa. Aside from that, they tended to just say Herod all the time, in the same way that kind of the Old Testament says Pharaoh. They don't care which Pharaoh. It's just, you know what we mean, bad ruler, And so they could not confirm, on a scholarly level that all these are basically the consensus.
Yeah. But they couldn't fact check it.
But it's not. Yeah, scholars don't really know.
Wow.
So we couldn't do that one.
Well, all right. Good. I didn't like that round.
Okay. Well, round 3 is should be funny.
Okay.
It's called Babel Inagrams, which is just an anagram of Bible anagrams.
Okay.
I gave you 3 phrases.
Oh, you did.
Early on. And I'm going to ask which of these words and phrases is not an anagram of a book of the Bible.
Okay.
And these are ones, I divide you, these are ones that we could not use. We did anagrams in season 3, but we kept coming up with ones that we couldn't use, and I'll read the 3 I gave you.
Right, you told me these before the show, before we started recording, and I was looking at them and I'm like, I don't know why you told me these, and now that you said anagrams, now I'm doing them. Okay,
so the first one is sex duo.
That one I figured out.
Which is?
Exodus.
Correct. The second 2 are cat's testicles and isn't an asshole.
Okay, cat's testicles I figured out, I think. That one would be Ecclesiastes.
Oh, I am.
No?
Sorry. That is the wrong one.
What?
Because it almost works, but you need to switch an E for a T.
Oh.
That was mean of me.
That was.
What about isn't an asshole?
No, I can't figure it out off the top of my head.
Thessalonians.
Oh, okay.
Is one of my favorite.
That's good.
Was my favorite.
That's good.
Now, what I should have done, another way I could have done this, I almost had you do a 4th one called, where the phrase was, "See Chet fart pot."
Okay.
And then it would have been, which of these is not an anagram of the book of the Bible? And then all of them would have been legitimate anagrams. But See Chet fart pot is an anagram of the Acts of Peter, which is an apocryphal book.
Oh.
But they all would have been legit anagrams, and you wouldn't have had to go, well, wait, what if you switch the E for the T? You know, right. I could have gone both ways, is what I'm saying. And I chose cat's testicles, and I think I made the right choice.
That. Yes. That's a good one.
Thanks.
So, okay.
So, yeah.
After all this, I don't know how this works, but after the show goes off the air, or when they decide, okay, we don't need you as a writer anymore, have you ever gotten any other offers from any faith-based anything? Because there is a Bible game show that is that's run by like a very conservative group, and it's on Facebook only, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there is. Because I've seen it, and it's bananas, because it's just rote memorization, and it's all kids.
So it's sword drills.
Yeah.
Is what we used to call them.
Yeah, there's no learning going on, really.
But that would be no fun at all.
No. And
I have thought of taking like a traveling show around to churches, because it was hugely popular. We did some shooting in, I think, both the 2nd and the 3rd season in remotely in Georgia. And in Georgia, if you wore a shirt that had American Bible Challenge, people would cheer. You'd get high fives.
Wow.
It was really, really popular. I got out of a speeding ticket in Alabama because I was wearing the shirt.
Oh my God.
So that was
Literally.
kind of funny. It was surprisingly popular in smaller places around the country, in what you might call the duck belt. But yeah, I haven't done that because, of course, you keep running up against, deep in my heart, I am an atheist and I don't believe any of this, and so I'm not sure they'd be comfortable having me.
I think I remember when the show first went on the air and all I knew was kind of the description of it. I remember thinking I would kind of like to see an atheist group appear on there, like Battle the Nuns. I wonder who would win. And you should just flat out say this is a group of atheists, because I think that would be compelling to watch.
Yeah, I think we did have a group of atheists. I may be forgetting, but I'm pretty sure we had, at least, because they liked to keep it diverse.
Right.
I know we had some rabbinical students, but the thing is, when the kinds of questions we were doing, like the showdown, the big final quiz question was just, we're going to give you 20 questions in a row, really, really fast on a countdown, and they're all about the nativity. Okay, where were they going? Bang. And, they just move on. And you cannot defeat a fundamentalist Christian on that, kind of knee-jerk knowledge of a very specific thing.
Okay.
So in a way, the format did tend to favor people who are obsessive.
Fair enough.
And you lose, I have to say, as an atheist now, you lose a lot of that obsession when the threat of hell is removed.
That's very true. So, David, what are you working on now?
Well, I'm because of the TED Talk, I've been able to like dust off some things that I've been working on for a long time because I have I have a website, daviddickerson.net. No, sorry, davidellisdickerson.net. The Ellis is very important. David Dickerson takes you to a lawyer. And I've been self-publishing religious satire. Oh. And I want to do more of it. I've been working for a long time on a larger book called How to Love God Without Being a Jerk that I think would be fun. But I want to show it around to a bunch of interested people. And I thought, I'm going to start a mailing list and just give out little sections of it to get feedback. So if anyone's interested, sorry, in the meantime, I also have, like, if you sign up on my mailing list on my website right now, you get 2 free books, little books. One is a collection of all of my radio pieces on This American Life and a couple other places. And the other is a 30-page story about the time I went to the Creation Museum.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, because a lot of people do the Creation Museum, but they do it really, really fast. I wanted to do the hard blow-by-blow, to really look at some of the crazy stuff they say and experience it. So
the only way to do it.
Oh, my goodness. It was actually the hardest part of my trip. Actually, it was part of a trip I took with the money we got because we won a Movie Guide Award. I don't know if you know about the Movie Guide Awards.
No.
There is some kind of obsessive Hollywood Christian guy who really wants, there to be Christian programming in the world. And for some reason, he's got deep pockets. And he's been doing, if you look up Movie Guide, it's all one word. It is the most, you've probably run across it, in fact, the most obsessive analysis of every movie out there about whether it's family friendly, how many times they use the F word, do they mention farting, is it ecological, does it talk about other religions, that kind of, like, every possible objection you can make to any movie is graphed.
That's like the worst version of Mr. Skin or whatever.
Oh, yes, exactly. And now, in this guy's defense, he's basically trying to appeal to every single lunatic on the planet, and who are all very, very, every single canary in the coal mine.
Wait. So you won money from an award for him, and you went to Kentucky?
I won an award. Sorry, the writing staff and a bunch of other people, because we won for best programming of the year. Okay. And the crazy thing is, that particular big award is funded by the Templeton Foundation. So they have very deep pockets.
They do.
And I suddenly found myself with a couple extra thousand, and I thought, I'm taking a road trip across the country and writing a book about it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And that's why this chapter from the still unpublished book survives. Okay. I thought, I bet you people who listen to Hemant Mehta will like to hear this.
They probably would. And I assume you went before Ark Encounter. That would have been right before Ark Encounter.
Yes.
Was built.
Yes. I don't know if I want to. Like, that's just. There's so much chicanery going on with that. I just feel like if I go there, I'm helping them bilk the good people of Lexington, Kentucky, and I can't do that anymore.
Well, I've been to the Creation Museum twice. I don't ask, but it's quite a place.
Well, in your case, it's tax deductible, I would think.
Yeah, it's a work expense.
I've been 3 times. I cannot stay away. But yeah, it's so. One of the things I kind of like about those obsessive places is how they like. It's clearly a passion project, because on top of everything else, the guy loves dinosaurs, but also has a kind of weird hard-on for Pilgrim's Progress. And and John Bunyan, which I was like, I lived years as a fundamentalist Christian. I never read John Bunyan, but oh my God, you can't miss it here. It's his bookstore, and by God, there's going to be an entire column.
I've said this to atheists before, but if you get a chance to go to either Creation Museum or Ark Encounter, I know it feels dirty that you're giving money to them, but you should go because you need to see firsthand what you're up against. And it's a good learning experience that you could take back with you.
Well, and particularly the Creation Museum, because it's also really well funded and looks nice.
It is
audio animatronic. It is gorgeous, very compelling. Yeah. And
and they have zip lines.
Kind of like the Lies of Satan.
Right. Well, we will have links for your website and therefore the mailing list, and also for the TED Talk and the show on Netflix too. So again, David Ellis Dickerson, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been so much fun talking. I could go on for hours. All right, and I hope I get to hang out with you again. This was really, really a hoot.
Likewise. Thank you.
See you, Hemant.